Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just joking. Hey, friends, how are you all? I'm glad that you're here. This is a day that I've decided, June 2nd, that I was going to start recording my long overdue first episode podcast of Deep Small Talks with Angela Blunt. Welcome. And the fundamental question that I am going to be answering by way of various videos would be, how do high performing neurodivergent people build lives that work for them instead of constantly adapting themselves to fit everyone else? That's it. And that's across the board, baby. And the reason why that's an important question is because it took years of trial and error, assessments, therapy, medication, all this, that, and the third, failed relationships. I mean, the list continues. For me to find out that that was a question that I needed to get the answer to. Like, I really needed the answer because I couldn't find it anywhere. And ladies and gentlemen, I am a fond believer of, at this point, knowing thyself so you can function accordingly. So I'm only doing this. This is the start. This is me just stepping out without it looking like it's perfectly packaged, without it looking like, oh, okay, I've scripted this out, because I am not going to be on scripts on this one. I'm just not. I can't afford to be, because life right now is fully unmasked. And I know that I'm being super vague right now. The world doesn't know who I am. So as far as you're concerned, all you see is a random video in the feed, hopefully, that you clicked on and you wondered, like, okay, who is this person talking about this and acting like this is possibly the 10th video, and I didn't share a wealth of information. The background information is not shared in this, and it won't be. And that's on purpose, because everything doesn't need to happen like at one time. I can do anything, not everything. But I'm here to tell you all that life has been pretty interesting around here. But what I've learned along the way has been essential to even where I am today. And you ever get a product, let's just say this, you get a product, and then in the product, like when you open up the box that the product came in, you will also see instructions, unless you don't get them. And then I'd be wondering, like, yo, why you sent this product and like the instructions are in there, not are they're not in there, like, why? Anyway, I want to make sure I'm staying focused. But it should be, because essentially we could use an intuitive guide to put that product together, and maybe we will get to a finished product. But what if they're like two screws that are still left remaining, and they're not the extra screws, the extra screws that come with the product, should you, like, find yourself having a nail in your hand, and next thing you know, you put it down somewhere, you don't know where it's located, and you need that specific. Anyway, what I'm saying is, it's not the extra, but it is supposed to be in the makeup of this product that's built, but you don't know where it goes, but you know that it belongs. So I like to think of myself and any other persons that I work with in this realm of knowing and figuring out yourself would be the same. Like, yo, I'm this human being, and I should be equipped with an instruction manual on how I function. But it just doesn't work out that way. You would hope that you would be in an environment to whereby the people that are responsible for you would try to help you get that figured out. And they're doing the best thing that they can, so no shade on them, right? But you're still live. with those questions on like how do I function. So guess what? Guess what tends to happen? You start adapting to the way in which you think you should function, right? Whether that be like a student, this is what students do, so this is what I do. Or, you know, a worker, this is what the workers do, so this is what I do. You know, this is what my friendship group, that's what they're doing, so this is what I do. So you begin to transform yourself based on who you're in front of, who you're interacting with, and then what happens? You lose sight of the original design. So that's what has happened to me over the years due to years of masking and not just accepting the fact that I am a neurodivergent. And I thought that somehow I was exempt because I became a professional therapist, entrepreneur, private practice owner. Heck, I worked with people who, obviously been diagnosed with ADHD, autism, and all that. And then for some strange reason, I seemed to think, I thought I was exempt. Coupled with the fact that I was strongly burdened by the idea that I'm not supposed to need any help. And that's not because of a professional identity. That's like from back in the days. Like I am hyper independent. I know that. But I also come with a long history of different aspects of just trauma. At the end of the day, relationally speaking, a lot of my trauma has been because of being just sorely misunderstood, needing certain things and not knowing what the exact need was, but then learning how to endure being without that need met. And then being very much so, or overcompensating, let me say that, in the world of, I guess, being needed. And so that overcompensated just to it just end up being, I end up overcompensating there because it's like, hey, why am I spending my time trying to share with people what I need, what I want, because that's going to be overlooked. And even if I did mention something about what I needed, it was always met with some sort of invalidation or, attitude and all that. And the list can go on, and I'm not going to continue to go on here with that. But with that being said, I had tremendous needs academically, socially, all of it, but I just learned essentially along the way how to play the game, not without any challenges or failing and this, that, and the third, because I experienced all the things, but I found my unique way of navigating some of the systems that are set up and designed to not really keep me in mind. So that's what I pride myself in, even being able to do that and get to this point. However, very recently I ran into the biggest burnout ever, because what ended up happening is things that used to be very super easy and I could do these things, these tasks with my eyes closed, that became harder. So it wasn't enough for my body to be reacting to what I was doing by way of, I have headaches, my body is hurting, I'm having all this pain in unusual places, this is happening, I'm experiencing this. I was just living with that. But when it came down to what now I've identified as skills regression, whereby basic tasks that were usually like simple to do became almost, I was just frozen, I could do them. And that's when I said, I got some more figuring out to do. And that's what I did. I took the journey of just discovering my original design and then learning more about that in a way that prepared me enough to share with people the way that I work and function. And what felt like it was going to be a shame journey of like having to then overcompensate or find an area to overcompensate, it is, there's no more left in me to do that. I just got to keep it real at this point. At this big age of 44, professional who is what many people deem as successful, educated, married, and all that, but still internally struggling, still trying to figure out who I am, what meaning is behind X, Y, Z, and why I'm here, and all that. And because of a recent loss of a client that I was with for 3 years, who, when in retrospect, when I go and look at the chart and all the records, I see this person begging just to be herself and couldn't because of the relationships that they were connected to, some of the expectations, so this, that, and the third. And it just death just became an option and the only option because it was just so much of a distress for them to live in their internal worlds without anyone really taking out the time to greatly understand why they were the way that they were. And while I did, and I am so grateful that I took that time, because I could have just been like, oh, this is not going to be a good fit because of how introverted they were initially and closed off and all that, rightfully so. I started to learn what that was all about. I wasn't enough for that to be something that was hopeful for that individual. So after that happened, I obviously felt affected by that, and I decided that I'm not going to be sitting around here asking anymore, because it could quite literally, it could do you in to the point where nothing becomes an option other than just death. So that's my journey. It's in paying homage and an honor to that client of mine. And that, well, you know what? Because I was working to coach them to becoming who they truly were, I'm going to do that, because I too am masking and living in a world that nobody is really that much curious about. But I'm not waiting on people to get curious about it. I'm telling them about it. And that is what makes the difference. And so, come on into my world. Deep Smoke Talks. I hope this is the shortest video, because like even with my ADHD and autism, I would have a problem with looking and seeing this multiple times. But hey, you might have the attention span for it. I don't know. Speed it up if you need to. Anyway, guys, I'm Angela Blunt. Welcome to Deep Smoke Talks. And let's go on this journey together. Bye now.